Welcome to Cinema Legacy. This series serves as sort of a follow-up to Inside the Movie Magic, while also just being its own entirely separate thing. So this is my first time actually shooting a video with the microphone holding it up to my face like this. So if it sounds crazy or you hear a lot of scuffing or like that probably just sounded a second ago, if you hear a lot of that, please forgive it because I'm trying to learn how to hold the microphone. So please let me know if I should be doing it differently, if you know, or anything like that. So please excuse any, weird noises or microphone sounds or anything like that, just because I'm still getting used to learning how to use the microphone in this way. This series will follow whatever happens after a movie is released into theaters. How much money the movie made, how it was looked at from audiences and critics, and what we think of the film looking back at it now. So if you enjoyed Inside the Movie Magic and enjoyed this video, please let me know down in the comments below. Well, let's take a step back into the early 2000s and take a look at the legacy of Almost Famous. Almost Famous had its world premiere at the 2000 Toronto International Film Festival. It was then given a limited release on September 15, 2000 in 131 theaters. It ventured $2.3 million on that opening weekend. And then it opened wide on September 22, 2000 in 1,193 theaters, where that weekend it made $6.9 million. It then went to make $31.7 million in the United States and $14.8 million internationally. Almost Famous was produced with a budget of $60 million and only made $47.4 million back at the box office, a total net loss of $12.6 million. This caused some massive strain between Cameron Crowe and DreamWorks, especially because the movie went just over $15 million over budget. I didn't really fully realize that during the recording of Inside the Movie Magic. I didn't find out that piece of information, which would have been helpful for that. So my apologies for not knowing that during the production section, but that's kind of partially why this episode exists in the first place. So always feel free, tell me what you guys notice or think, or you hear something, please let me know, because I'm totally willing to make corrections and things like that, because we're always learning. Yeah, please feel free to always make sure that I have all my information correct. The box office for this film was a very severe disappointment. One of the very popular reasons I was seeing all online and things like that about why this movie may have potentially failed is that there were not very many huge names yet in this film. There are names that we know now, like Jason Lee or Philip Seymour Hoffman, but they were all starting to make their name or had just started hitting the knowledge, the pop culture sphere, I guess you could say. And many of them did not have the star power, the pull power that a movie like this would need then to make a successful film at the box office. Especially at the time pre-internet, having stars in your film really meant something if you could market a film with somebody's name attached. Because that was really the only way people really knew to come to see your film, based on if they recognized somebody in the film or not. I also want to point out that many people thought another issue with this film, as well as actually an issue, is DreamWorks did not know how to promote this R-rated film. When I watched Almost Famous in preparation for this movie, I did not realize that it was made by DreamWorks, because I don't think of DreamWorks as a rated R film production company. I think of them as the animated kids company. And I think that's probably partially why they struggled trying to figure out how to market this film, because it wasn't the movie that they normally make. Either way, the movie flopped at the box office. So a question to ask: could a movie that fails at the box office have a sequel? Well, let's take a look at our next chapter and find out. Well, the most simple way to start this is no, there are no sequels to Almost Famous. However, there is something that counts towards this chapter. In 2019, a play was created using the name of this film in the story. The music is by Tom Kitt, and Tom Kitt and Cameron Crowe both did the lyrics for this Broadway play. The show opened in October of 2019, and creative work was done on it all throughout COVID. The production began previews on October 3rd, 2022, and officially opened November 3rd, 2022. At just over 100 performances of the play, it was announced that the play was going to be closed due to negative reception in January of 2023. The play has been in workshopping since then, with some public readings given in November of 2023. However, just like the film, this play, while flopping initially, was actually nominated for a Tony Award for Best Score. I do hope that the Broadway play is reworked and comes back to the stage, because while I do really enjoy this film, I do think that it may work better as a Broadway play, just based on what the actual material is for the film. But let's take a look back at the film for a second. This film flopped at the box office, never touched the light of making a profit. How do you think the critics responded? Negatively? Well, let's find out in the next chapter. I'm not sure if this would be a surprise to you or not, because many of you know that critics in the box office and the general audience sometimes tends to have different feelings about certain things. The critics, however, loved this film. It currently has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. One of the most popular film critics of all time, Roger Ebert, gave the film 4 out of 4 stars and said it was the best film of the 2000s. He also said that it was very funny and very touching. Not everyone was in perfect synchronicity with each other, though. Andrew Sarah said that none of the non-musical components on the screen matched the excitement of the music. For whatever reason, too much of the dark side has been left out, according to him. Dustin Howe of the Washington Post said in his review for Almost Famous that he found it very hard to see these long-haired kids as products of the 1970s, instead of dressed up for the Seattle Starbucks era. I couldn't help but wonder how many of the performers had to buy a CD copy of the song and listen to it and study it for the first time. Do you believe that these criticisms are completely warranted? I don't believe some of this criticism to be completely true and to be a completely fair assessment of the film. But that is besides the point. All that truly matters when it comes to a group of people that like the film is the audience. If the audience likes the film that was made, but critics don't, it truly doesn't matter, because the audience is all that really matters. So let's take a look back at how the audience really appreciated Almost Famous. The audiences at the time loved the film, with CinemaScore giving it an A- on an A+ to F score. I think the reason that this didn't do very well at the box office, I think, has more to do with the fact that the film has a very limited audience. For people who were alive 30 years before this movie came out, or are fascinated with the period of time that this movie is based on, it's hard for people to put themselves into a period piece, like Almost Famous, if they have no interest in that specific time period. Audiences of today like the 80s as a time period, so therefore many more movies and shows are placing themselves in that time period, for both in-universe and out-of-universe pop culture references. The audiences of the time really did like this movie. That is, those of them that actually showed up for it. Sorry for it being so dark in here. I didn't actually fully realize how dark that it actually got in here, so I had to turn the light on. So you're going to notice some difference in the lighting, and that's my apologies for that. This is something I've been seeing more and more while I was researching for this video. The fact that a lot of people are calling this movie overrated, or that they don't really see the appeal of this film, in the same way that the people did in the early 2000s. And I think that I may have a reason for that that's kind of interesting. I believe that because this film is not intentionally trying to, or like for lack of a better word, 70s-ify the film. Every single aspect of that film, I should say. It may come across as not a great film, or they didn't put any intention into the pop culture of this film, even though they, let's be honest, they kind of do that with the music just a teensy weensy bit, but it's like definitely deserved and earned. So I think people who expect this film to be like Stranger Things, where there's posters and people talking about the 80s and 80s movies and everything all the time, they may not have expected what they were stepping into for this film. Thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the first Inside the Movie Magic and Cinema Legacy. I do have some corrections from the first episode to make that I mentioned in the actual video, but I want to make them extra clear. So thank you for watching. I do deeply appreciate it. This is like one of my favorite things to do in the whole world. And I honestly am so grateful that I even have like you, the one person maybe who's watching this video. If there's 1,000 people, 1 million people, one person, I care about it just as much. And I'm never going to just let quality slip because I have one follower or one viewer. So if you're the one viewer, you are the person that I am entertaining. If you are the million people, you are the million people that I am entertaining, and that will never change for me. So thank you for watching. I deeply, deeply appreciate you, and watching this video means everything to me, as this is some of my favorite things to do. I love researching things. I especially love researching movies. I do this by myself when I look up things and I find out information about my favorite films. So we have some movies that I might do for this kind of soon, but I'm not going to be spoiling them. If you keep up to date with all of my social medias and things, you may actually know some of the ones that I'm going to be doing soon for one of these videos. Other than that, thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.